Okay guys, this is going to be fun. Before we even get started, start writing down or keeping a mental note of attachment styles. And then what I want you to do is the 3 styles that I give you, write down, comment below what you feel that your attachment style is and what your partner's attachment style is, or maybe what your ex's attachment style was, and how these 2 styles may have helped each other or hindered the relationship. So today we're going to talk about different ways that you can invite more affection into your life. If you're new here, my name is Michele Paiva. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and I'm a little weird. What's happening here? What is this? What's happening here? Today we're going to talk about how to get the love that you deserve. So this is for you if you're already in a relationship or if you're going to be going into a relationship and want to make sure that you are getting the love that you deserve. Number 1, don't demand. When you demand something of the other person, it immediately puts them on the defense and they're probably going to say no, or they're going to act really passive aggressive about it. Either way, demanding always invites negativity. So let's just say what you're interested in is being hugged more or having more conversations. It's not a good idea for you to say,
let's have a talk. I want to talk.
We need to have a relationship talk.
Let me tell you right now, that's not going to fly well. When you come in with that attitude because you are frustrated, it is never going to end well. It's probably going to end in tears or someone slamming a door. I totally get it. You are frustrated, but that is not the way to get what you need. Instead, do things that more invite the kind of behaviors that you want. So if it's hugging that you want, you can't turn it around and make it like the other person's wrong. You can't say to them, you know what, you don't hug enough and it's because the way you were brought up and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. It's never going to work out because you're immediately telling that person that they are flawed. And just because you think they're flawed doesn't mean that they are flawed. Just because they're not hugging you, it doesn't mean that they have some integral problem with how they were brought up. It just might mean that they are not someone who wants to hug as much as you. Or there might be something going on in the relationship as to why they're not hugging. So stay with me because I'm going to go into that in a little bit and why they might not be doing these things in the first place. But listen, so say it's that you want to hug more. The first thing that you need to do is invite it more. And you might have already been doing that, so just hear me out. But the way you invite is going to make the difference. You first need to understand what are their affection styles, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. Let's just say they are fear-based. If they're fear-based, they may not want to approach you. Even if they've been with you 20, 30 years, they still might feel whatever it is that's holding them back. You don't know 100% why they are doing what they're doing, and don't assume it. But when we assume too much,
We make an ass of ourselves.
anyway, you invite. Maybe out of the blue, you just create 3 little gift certificates, each good for 1 hug. And you put a time limit on each one of them. So one is for this week, one is for next week, and one is for the 3rd week. And you tell them that they can redeem them at any time during the week, but the rule is they have to redeem them. And it's only good for a hug. Then you can make it fun and you can say, okay, you only have 1 day to redeem the hug. Now it's their choice if they redeem that gift certificate. Don't make it where they have to do it because that's putting a demand on them. And don't make them feel bad if they don't redeem it at all. And in a minute, I'm going to go into the 3 different attacks. Really quickly, you're only doing this so that you can kind of train them to not feel insecure or apprehensive and to invite intimacy into your lives. Attachment areas which will make all of this a lot more simple. So don't worry about if they don't redeem it right away or at all. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to model the very behavior that you want. So going back to our example, if it's hugging that's very important to you, then I want you just to reach out and hug them more. Even if it's just 1 split second, if they pull away, if they have anything that you deem as pulling away emotionally, don't bring it up. Just hug them, walk away, and be accepting of whatever it is that they're able to give you. There's a reason for this. Now, in the beginning, and when I say beginning, it could be a couple of weeks or a couple of months. This is not an overnight fix. Most things in relationships are not an overnight fix. So understand that this is a process that you're going to be going over so that you can get what you need out of the relationship. Understand, just because these are your needs does not mean that they are going to be 100% met. Whenever there's 2 people in a relationship, there has to be give and take. And I won't say that there's sacrifice, but there's compromise. The 3rd area is that you keep affirming. Anytime that they give you a hug back, anytime that they reach out to you at all, anytime that they stay even for a second in that embrace, You make it like it is the best thing in the world, but you don't want to overdo it. But you want to make sure that you show gratitude and compassion for what they are able to give you. Because if you act like it's no big deal, they're going to think it's no big deal. Or if you act that in some way that they have failed you, they're not going to really be motivated to continue doing that behavior, which is the behavior that you actually want. Now, we all have different styles of attachment. And these attachment styles that you have in your relationship right now are based upon, for you, your primary caregiver as a child, and also your partner's primary caregiver when they were a child. This is not the time to point fingers. I don't care how much you think or how much you know that who they had growing up was not the right type of caregiver. I totally get that. And I get that maybe you feel that you didn't have the best caregiver. I understand all of that. It's neither here nor there. It just is what it is. If they had a certain type of caregiving and attachment style, and you had a certain type of attachment style, you're going to have these in your life right now as imprints. It doesn't mean that that is always there. It just means it's underneath the surface. So things can always get better. Things can always be improved, but it doesn't mean you're going to negate anything that happened in the first 5 to 7 years of either of your lives. And again, just because you're used to your way of showing affection, it doesn't mean that your way is the only way. And I know this is very frustrating, and I'm not saying that you have to shelf whatever it is that you want, but I am saying that you do need to be very cognizant of your partner. You chose that partner and you fell in love with that partner for a lot of different reasons. And attachment style is going to come into play. Having different attachment styles is not a big deal. So I don't want you to freak out, because having different attachment styles is not a big deal. The more security that you had in childhood, the higher the levels of trust that you will have in your relationships. This means also that you tend to have lower expectations for the relationship. So if you had a really high level of security as a child, you didn't have a lot of experiences that really rocked you, you're going to have more of an easygoing feel in the relationship. If your partner had a troublesome childhood or saw a lot of lying and deceit, they're going to have a definitely different level of security in the relationship, and they might be expecting more of you. This might make you feel like you have too much pressure to be perfect, or it could flip the other way. Because you're so trusting, they may assume that you don't care. So as you can see, the different levels of security in your attachment style actually mean more than how you show love. Now, there's a book about the 5 languages of love, and that's very important to know that everyone shows love differently. Some people show love by saying something, some people show love physically, some people cook and clean or build things, and there's a lot of different ways that someone can show love. This is different. That's about showing love, but not really about the attachment underneath how someone shows love. We'll talk about that in another video. Again, the level of security that you had as a child is very important in understanding how you perceive love and how you perceive attachment. This is the same for your partner. Now, if you had any kind of trauma in your early days, even in your teen years or early 20s, you might see relationships different as well because of that trauma or crisis. So depending on the situations and the experiences you had in childhood with your primary caregiver and with other people in your life that you may have trusted, this will all dictate how you respond to your partner and how your partner responds to you. So here are the 3 main attachment styles. Number 1, fearful. If you're someone who only lets a relationship get so far, you might have suffered loss in your past. You might be very afraid to let someone be very close to you. And if you are in a fear-based relationship, you're always seeking for that closure, but you're never quite getting it because you keep pushing it away. So if you are fear-based, you're going to be asking for extra security from your partner, and yet when they give it to you, you might then not trust them and push them away. This will cause a lot of up and down in the relationship, and it'll cause you a lot of turmoil. The other form is the preoccupation. If you are preoccupied, if you keep yourself busy and you're always looking for clues as to how the other person is loving you and showing love, you're probably someone who really fears being abandoned. If you're someone who fears being abandoned, you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, so you're never feeling like you deserve love. Many women and men who were abandoned in their early years by a primary caregiver often feel that in the here and now, it's very hard to trust anyone, and they always feel like the other person is going to leave them. They do a lot of behaviors that push the person so far away that they do have a breakup and feel then abandoned. They tend to feel like they're never going to find anyone, and they tend to jump into relationships hoping that this is going to last forever. This type of person often attracts a narcissist. The other form is the dismissive form. Now, if you had primary caregivers that were very busy in their lives, either with each other or working all of the time, or just not showing a lot of love and you craved it, you got used to just doing things on your own. You got used to being a little adult. So if you had that more dismissive primary caregiving relationship, you already feel like you don't really need a whole lot from a relationship. You tend to settle for far less than you deserve, and you tend to get walked on a lot in all of your relationships, even with your friendships. So you might have all three of these together, but one of them usually is the one that really sticks out the most. Now understand, taking that into consideration, you also have to look at what do you feel, or what does your partner say they had more of? It's a good idea to let them see this video and have a discussion on that. It's okay to have any one of them or to have a blend of them. And everyone has a little bit of at least one of them. So if you know your style, so if you're more fear-based and you're really always searching for security, and your partner is not maybe hugging you enough, then you know that maybe you need to work on trusting more. So whatever your style is, whatever your attachment style is, and whatever you got from your primary caregiver, or the result of what your primary caregiver gave you, is now something that you can look at to together invite and model and affirm that each other is really doing the best that you can for each other. Did that make sense? So what I mean by that is, if you know your styles and if your partner knows their styles, or even if you can try to assume, even if you can try to guess a little bit of what your partner's style is, but again, we don't want to assume. If you can just focus on working on yourself and getting more in touch with the kind of primary caregiving affection that you received, and then looking at, are you trying to fill that gap with your partner? And then are you vilifying your partner? Are you blaming it on your partner when you're not feeling the affection that you've been searching for maybe your whole life? Or maybe you've been pushing away your whole life. So taking a step back and working on yourself and then working on the relationship is always going to be much more relaxing, much more peaceful in the relationship. And the more you become at peace with yourself and your needs, the more you invite behaviors from your partner, and the more you can model the behaviors that you are searching for and yearning for, craving, the more your partner can also affirm these behaviors and then exhibit them as well to you. So you're both going to have your needs met so much more when both of you, or even one of you, can get more in touch with your attachment styles. I would love for you to join the Sanity Soiree. Information on it is below, and I have another video for you.